Hi, my name is Tony Euculano. I'm a York County native and a York City resident, and I am a USA Weightlifting national level coach. I've also gotten to compete and coach a few other strength sports, CrossFit, Powerlifting, and Strongman. Now, when I tell people that I coach weightlifting, they think of this guy. Now, there's nothing wrong with this guy, and I feel bad for putting him on the spot. I don't even know who he is. But they really think I walk around with a clipboard counting sets and reps, yelling out really positive motivational quotes telling you you're doing a great job. Nothing wrong with him. That's not me. What I'm talking about is the sport of weightlifting. And in the sport of weightlifting, we do two lifts. That is it. We snatch and we clean and jerk. Now, if you chuckled at those terms, I promise this will be a PG presentation. What we do with those lifts is we try to put the most weight overhead. Super simple, right? Well, anybody who's trained or competed in this sport will tell you it's probably one of the most difficult things they've ever done. Now, I'd be a little remiss if I didn't mention the rich history that York has with this sport of weightlifting. It's evident to anybody who's driven up and down 83. You've seen weightlifting guy out front of York Barbell right next to the Hall of Fame. In fact, my grandparents used to live on the east side of town, and they were neighbors with Steve Stanko. Name may sound familiar. He was the first Mr. Olympia in the 60s. But it just gives you an idea that the who's who of the strength and conditioning world would come to York to train, giving us the nickname at one point, Muscletown, USA. Now, I was first introduced to the sport in college. I was a really wiry track and field athlete. I also studied music. Now, we use the lifts, which I'll explain here in a little bit, to develop strength and speed. But it was actually my background in the performing arts that really drove my love for this sport. Because these lifts to me, they tell stories. Pro tip, if you want to get stronger, just grow a beard. It happens overnight. But these lifts tell a story. They tell what that athlete went through, what they trained for. As I mentioned, there is the snatch and the clean and jerk. Snatch goes from ground to overhead in one motion. That's kind of what we're going to see here. As an athlete, I love the snatch. As a coach, I hate it, and it's for the same reason. There's a really small margin of error when this lift happens. The bar comes off the ground, and if it feels heavy in your hand and not in the right spot, you're going to get uncomfortable. You're going to want to rush the lift. And if you rush the lift, bad things are going to happen. Very much so how I want to rush things right now. Bar continues up, we drive really hard with our legs, and somewhere right around in here, there's this little magic that happens. The bar becomes weightless. It's as if the whole world aligns. You no longer feel that weight in your head, and you're like, ah. But then realization comes around because you have to turn around, catch the weight, and stand back up. It's a really nice metaphor of how things happen in life. But again, so that's the snatch. Ground to overhead in one fluid motion. You kind of see Danielle here is doing an excellent job with that. And it's almost a little bit of poetry in motion, the way they move. Second lift, the clean and jerk. I have an opposite reaction to the clean and jerk. I hate it and love it. As a coach, I love it. Lifter, Reason being is this lift takes guts. Now, because this lift is going to go from the ground and make a stop at our shoulders, invariably it is a heavier lift for athletes because they're able to do more weight. And that weight is constantly pushing down on them. So you can see Lindsay here, she's standing it up. And you're thinking, okay, great, yay, I got it stood up. Nope, not done yet. Weight's still pushing down on you. She's got to regroup and then drive the bar overhead. As a lifter, these lifts are my craft. You can see when a lifter does these, what they've gone through in their training, the experiences they had, and things like that. It's a really cool, if you ever get to go to one of these events, please go and check them out. As a coach, I get to work with all kinds of different athletes. I get to work with athletes that want to be Division I athletes and eat pancakes at every IHOP in the country. His mom's thrilled about that. I also get to work with athletes who just want to come to the gym and be healthy and have a good time. They have different goals. They have different things they want outcome, but there's one thing we always focus on. We want to focus on being a good lifter. Now, does being a good lifter mean you're strong and athletic? Maybe. It helps. But what a good lifter is it's someone who's strong of character, takes personal responsibility, And they have a commitment to growing as a person and finding their personal growth. I also get to work with the not so young. I'm one of them as well too. And they are a bit more of a handful than the teenagers, as you can see here. But the fun thing with adults is those characteristics that I talked about before, the commitment, the desire for personal growth, they have already had this at some part of their life and exude that in another aspect, whether it's in their work, their career, charity work, things like that. But they get drawn to this sport because this is a sport that requires those things. And these even experienced lifters who have great experience with life will tell you that there's so much to learn about yourself when you go through this level of training. Now, all those things are great and they're good, the commitment, the desire, the hard work, but they don't mean anything without trust. And as a coach, that is my craft, developing trust with my athletes and also having them reciprocate that trust back in me. They trust in me that I know what their interests are, what their goals are, and we work together as a team to form that. And then I'm a small part of their journey, hanging out in the background while they get to go ahead and celebrate the success. But I also need to have, I need to have a trust in them, that they're willing to put forth the hard work and the effort that it takes to have the success that we want in the sport. And it's not about the weight that's on the bar. It is about that effort and energy and the commitment that you bring into it. I've made a lot of lifelong friends through this sport because there's something very therapeutic about sharing a bar with people that you meet from all over the country. Thank you so much for coming out.